Hello and welcome. This is going to be our homework help video for absolute value equations. Let's just jump right into this with problem number 2. Solve each equation. So in order to solve this, I need to first recognize that my absolute value brackets have already been isolated. There's no operations outside of them, like a coefficient here, or maybe an additional term. Once we're to that point, we can split it into the two cases. The first case is where we drop our absolute value brackets. We just rewrite it without the absolute value brackets. It's because we're going to say this is the case where b is a positive number, and that's how it's going to be equal to this 4. In the other case, I replace the brackets with a negative parentheses, just meaning negative parentheses, whatever's inside the brackets, close parentheses, nothing else changes. This one can be solved by dividing both sides by -1. And we get two answers. We get that b is equal to 4 and b is equal to -4. This technique is useful for slightly longer problems. Let's do problem number 4 real quick. So there's no operations outside the absolute value brackets. So I'm going to split it into the two cases. In one case, I just drop the brackets, no other changes. In the other case, I replace the brackets with a negative parentheses. Over here, I can finish solving this by multiplying both sides by 8. I get that x equals 40, one of our answers. Over here, I can divide both sides by -1, just get rid of that negative. Now I've got x over 8 equals -5. Multiply by 8, multiply by 8, and I'll get that x equals -40. Problem number 5 is a good one. This should give us an example of when we don't necessarily get just plus or minus the same number. Again, no operations outside of our absolute value brackets, so we can just split it into the two cases right away. One case, I drop them. The other case, I turn them into a negative parentheses. All right, over here, I'll just subtract 9 from both sides. We get that n is equal to -8. That's one of our answers. Over on this side, I'm going to distribute that negative to start. I'm going to get -n minus 9 equals 1. I'm going to add 9 to both sides. -n equals 10. I'm going to divide both sides by -1. n equals -10. So two answers that are not just plus or minus the same number, and this is an example where they're both negative. Let's skip on to the back side where we've got some operations outside of our brackets. The trick to these is going to be to simplify the equations to the point where it's just absolute value brackets of an expression equals a number. All right. Number 10, I divide both sides by 3. I get the absolute value of 7v is equal to 21. Notice real quick, absolute value equals a number. That number is positive. Therefore, we know we're going to have two solutions. The other options are for that number to be negative, granting us 0 solutions, or if this number over here is 0, we'll have exactly one solution. All right, it's time to do the split. One case where I just drop them, 7v equals 21. One case where they become a negative parentheses. Negative parentheses, 7v equals 21. Divide by 7, divide by 7, v equals 3. One answer. Divide by -7, divide by -7, v equals -3. And we could write it like this, v equals plus or minus 3. That's fine if you want to write it that way for problems like this. Let's skip down a little bit further where we've got multiple operations outside. Maybe number 15. Number 15, we got a fraction. So I'll subtract 8 from both sides. And absolute value of n over 10 equals 1. Absolute value is isolated. This is a positive number. We know we're going to get two solutions. Now we get n over 10 equals 1 and negative n over 10 equals 1. times 10 times 10, n equals 10. That's one solution. For this one over here, multiply by negative 10. That way I can get rid of the negative and the 10 in one swoop. N equals negative 10. All right. Number 16. Absolute value bracket is isolated, but notice over here we've got a negative number. So because we've got absolute value equals negative number, there is no number we can input to A and make this a true statement. 10 won't work, negative 10 won't work because the absolute value of negative 50 is 50, and that's not a true statement that 50 equals negative 50. So all we have to write is no solution. No number in existence on our real number line. That'll make that work. Describe how to check for extraneous solutions when solving for equations with absolute values. I mean, this is as simple as plug your answers back in. Extraneous solutions will not balance. All right, that's all I've got for this video. Have a good rest of your day.